this may not go to plan, and we've already done that. Now, part of the Better Club series is a series of speeches we can give to talk about our club and how to talk about the roles in our club and to help inform about these roles. And tonight I want to concentrate on the Vice President of Education. And the reason I want to concentrate on this role? Well, coming at the end of the year, we've got to choose a new executive. And Vice President of Education is one of those roles. And being such a rewarding role, I want to make sure that you all knew about it so that you're all eager to jump for it and basically form a line so I can take down all your names and you'll want to go for a vote to find out who it's going to be. Now, seriously, the Vice President of Education is an extremely rewarding role. But it does come with responsibilities. First, the obvious, is setting the club's meeting agenda, which everyone relies on. We have to get these agendas out very quickly and make sure people get enough notice to find out what they're doing. Second is scheduling assignments. Besides the obvious of people coming to me to ask if they want to do a speech and I schedule that in, I've got to make sure all the other roles are filled. Usually I rely on people coming to me and say, I want to be table topics master, or I want to do an evaluation. And then there are a few remaining which we have to fill in. Another responsibility is tracking members' accomplishments. And this all feeds into the annual report we give to the area director and aim for our own club award. And I think for most years since I've been here, we've either been distinguished or President's distinguished. And all this comes from your members' accomplishments. Not only do you get the reward, the club gets the reward as well. And of course, my favourite part of this role is helping members' education needs. I remember when I started here, I had a phenomenal amount of help from quite a few different people. In particular, Elaine, and a little bit from Michael maybe. I had lots of help from everyone, and part of roles VPE, I get help back. And I've been helping a few people here with their leadership booklets to slowly get them through, rotating through the roles and trying new things. Now, hopefully I can move on this. I can, it's working. The first part is setting the agenda, and this is a cut down agenda. And I'll sort of highlight a few key points in here. First is the running time, which is bounded in black. This running time gives us an idea, when I'm setting the agenda, if everything I'm putting in will fit into our set time. But it also gives a running time to the chairman, who's going to run this meeting. He's going to work out if we're staying on track. And from decisions of where the time is up to in relation to this agenda, he can work out if he wants us to slim my break time down to 5 minutes so I can't test out my equipment again or rush off to the men's. But that aside, the other point I want to highlight is, bounded in green is all the assignments, which is quite an obvious statement, but all the assignments, it's got to be allocated to someone, which is what I've got ringed in blue. Down at the bottom of the agenda, two important points. We've got apologies and we've got the hot seat. If we know who's not going to be here, it means I don't have to waste time working out who's going to be reassigned roles when we come start the meeting. So apologies is vital. It's always vital to let your VP know if you're not going to turn up. And the hot seat are the lucky people who will jump in at the last moment and fill an assignment. And that's probably the most enjoyable role of anyone in this club. Be on that hot seat, waiting at the last minute to do any role going. And the little touch I like to add is the issue number. So if I send out more than one of these agendas via the internet to you, you know which is the current version by the issue number. Now, how do I set the roles? Well, thanks to a lovely spreadsheet I got off the previous VPE, I won't name who that was, Perry. It was a great idea of keeping a record of what people have done. And by keeping a record of what people have done, I can work out who hasn't done a role in a certain time frame. I can work back in history and find out if, say, Marjorie hasn't done table topics, or if Elaine hasn't done a soapbox. And I can schedule people in so that everyone gets a fair chance at doing all the roles. But I do take notes. Some members have maybe a hearing difficulty or some other difficulty where they can't do a particular role. And I take note of that so that I know never to schedule those roles in for that person. So this is where I keep all roles taken and understand rotation. But that's only part of the story. Another part is education. As I guide new members through the Competent Leadership Manual, I take account of what roles they need to do to accomplish each of the projects. Because our members are so proactive and they come up to me with their manuals and I carefully check and suggest, I sort of coax a member into a new role which they may be a bit hesitant of doing. They may not like the idea of doing chairman or table topics or another role, but by knowing the manual and speaking to them, I can carefully schedule people in when it's appropriate. And once I've got them into that role, I can carry on for history and rotate them in and out of this. And that's where help the first assignments come in as well. Now, one of the great things about being VPE is if I'm a new person doing a role, I can assign an assistant. Maybe assistant chairman, assistant timer, assistant table topics master maybe. Someone which that person who's doing the role for the first time can call upon during the meeting. And to make sure it gives them self-confidence that they know there's someone there watching them and helping them along, giving them a nudge. But one of the big roles we're going to get as a VPE next time is introducing the new education method called Pathways. Now, I know you're all keen to, eager, want to find out what Pathways is. So am I. I don't know either. But it's new and it's coming and it's apparently better. One of the things I've built up over the time, and this comes from doing the role myself, is I've come up with sample scripts. And the sample scripts is how to do Toastmaster for the first time, how to do table topics, how to do a toast. And I've kept a little collection of these from having to work it out for myself, or for Wendy, or when I was starting out and I asked people. My Toastmasters script came from a member who's not here tonight, Peter, who I've never pronounced his surname. So these scripts I didn't necessarily come up with myself, I've just passed them along, and when people want to do a role for the first time, I happily pass them out. And hopefully they'll come up with their own version. Back to the agenda. So the key things about the agenda is try and get people to request roles. They get preference. If you come to me and say, I want to do table topics, I'll give you preference over someone who hasn't done table topics for a while, because you've come and asked to do that role. Mind you, if you asked to do that role 2 weeks, 2 meetings running, I'll probably say, well, we'll put you in a little later. Your education needs are paramount. If I know what you need to do, I'll schedule your education needs in to make sure you can complete assignments. Preferences. You may not be able to do certain roles, or you may have something you want to keep practicing. You may be running up to an evaluation competition and want to put those extra evaluation times in. I will do that if I know. And of course, role rotation. I like to keep things fair and transparent. So that hence my spreadsheet of what people have done. But role rotation I take very seriously because I want to make sure that no one misses out on doing any of the roles. Because I know that some of these roles people really love doing, table topics being one of them. And so I get that role rotation in there. So in conclusion, Vice President Education is an extremely rewarding role. And I would urge anyone who has never even been on executive to think about doing the role. It is not that difficult. It just takes a little organisation and a little pre-planning, and you can roll this off week by week. I say week by week. We only come every second week. Meeting up by meeting. As long as you do things in a planned manner, it becomes very easy to do. Now, the important part, questions. Have I got any questions about the role? Yes, Alec?
Do you need to be a member of Toastmasters for a while in order to take on this role?
Well, ideally you need to be a member for at least 5 minutes, but as long as you're a member, you can ask to do the role. But of course, if you have experience of coming to the meetings and you understand the roles around what's going on, that gets you in a better stead for being able to give roles out. How do you know who to give a general evaluator role to? Or how do you give a Toastmaster role to? By having a bit of experience watching the meetings go, that gives you a bit better frame of experience to be able to work it out and to do that role well. But I know you've been in Toastmasters for a little while and you would have already built up that experience. Bruce?
With pathways coming, Gary, are there any special qualifications or experience that a VPE will need for this year in particular when pathways will be introduced?
Good question. Pathways is coming in this next term of VPE. But there will be a Pathways coach who will be visiting our club. And I hope that coach will also teach the VPE. Because the VPE is in the same boat, the current one, the acting one, as the future VPE is. I don't know what Pathways involves. I expect to be taught it, just the same way as every member here also needs to be taught Pathways. So I'd say no special experience required. Are there any more questions? No? Okay, after this meeting I'll be glad to have people form a line and I'll put all their names down for being nominated to be VPE. Thank you very much. Oh, last minute.
I know it is last minute, but I've found from experience that just waiting for people to come up to you is not good enough, because people are often sitting there on their chair thinking, oh, I couldn't do that, you know, and not go to you. You have to go to them and ask them and have that play back and forth.
You've been a bit negative, because I know at the end of this meeting there'll be a long queue.
All right,
if there isn't a long queue, I will be badgering everyone in turn.
Good.
But we didn't want to do that, because I know that so many people here are so keen to do the role of VPE.